So today I'm going to be running through all things flatbread. We're going to go through the whole process of making our bread. We make it 3 days in advance. Starts with an Autolyse, mixing the flour and water together, finishing with the yeast and starter. And then the following day, we roll the bread, and then it's ready to use on the third day. We use a 60% hydration in our dough, which starts with 3,900 grams of water. And then we need 6,500 grams of flour. The flour we use is wild farm flour. They're regenerative farmers. And not only are they friends of the restaurant, but they do a lot of good things in fighting against water pollution, rebuilding wildlife. They really care about their product, and that's why we love using them. And we try and do that with a lot of our suppliers across the restaurant. But this is a lovely way to do it in our flatbreads. So that's the flour and the water weighed out. Now we need to bring it together in the bread machine, and then we're going to let it sit at room temperature for 2 hours so that all the flour gets hydrated with the water before we then add the yeast and the starter. This is the Autolyse. This is our bread machine. You can easily do this by hand as well. But this saves us like half an hour every day. We didn't have one of these until about a year ago. So the first year and a half, every day was making it by hand. It's the same process, just takes a little bit more work. So first of all, we're going to add the water. Next, we're going in with all the flour. As you can see, we've maximised how much dough we can fit in this machine. And that's so because we make so many flatbreads here, we don't have to do 2 batches a day. So really fill this up, and that'll be enough to give us about 80 breads, which will get us through one day. So all we're trying to do here is combine the flour and water, and then we're just going to let it sit for 2 hours, and that's going to fully hydrate all the flour. So this is what we're looking for. There's no dry pockets of flour, but it's still quite a shaggy dough. It's not really put together. So now we're just going to leave that for 2 hours. When we come back, you'll notice how it's changed. All of this will be quite silky. It'll be very well connected. So after 2 hours, you can see everything's hydrated now. It's starting to build a bit of strength in the dough. It's nice and stretchy. Feels still very soft. It's ready for the yeast and the salt. The rising agents that we use in our flatbread dough, we use a mixture of fresh yeast and starter. The starter gives that lovely sourdough flavour, and the fresh yeast helps us consistently get the same amount of rising, because the starter can be a bit unpredictable. So we use the mixture of both so we can control how active our dough is. This is what we're looking for when we come in the morning. Very active, very bubbly. It's going to give the bread a lovely sour flavour. Smells delicious. Ready to go into our bread dough. So we're going to weigh out 450 grams of our starter. And then to that, we're going to add 45 grams of fresh yeast. It's important that we feed our starter as soon as we've used it, so that tomorrow we've got another batch ready to go. To do that, we're going to add equal parts flour and water, 200 grams of each. So we're going to bring that together. And then we're going to add that straight into our starter. Okay, once that's fully mixed in, we're going to make sure we scrape down the sides of the container. If you look now compared to what it was at the start, there's no bubbles in there anymore. But by tomorrow, that would have risen again, and it'll be ready to go. What does salt in dough do?
Salt tightens the gluten structure, adds flavor, and reduces the rate at which the yeast will ferment.
Perfect. Can you say that, but in my voice, please? Yeah. Okay, so the next thing we need to add is the salt. We add the salt and the yeast separately, so that the salt doesn't kill the yeast. 150 grams of salt. First, we're going to add the starter and the yeast, and then we'll let that mix in before we add the salt. So now we're going to let this spin for 10 minutes, which is going to start building a really nice strength in the dough. This now is basically acting like the kneading stage when you make dough, but obviously the machine just does it for us. It's starting to come together. We're looking for a nice glossy dough, and it's going to pass the window pane test when we stretch it out later. So we've got a lovely, nice dough here. It's nice and shiny, very smooth. It's built a lot of strength. We just pick it up and stretch it out. So you can almost see my fingers through it. It's got a lovely strength to it. Nice. So the dough's been sat in the fridge for about 45 minutes now, and we're going to give it its first shape, form it into a nice big dough ball. So as it grows over the next day, it grows within itself, and all that lovely structure is going to get built inside. We're going to do that 3 times, once every 45 minutes, just by stretching out the dough from all 4 sides and folding it in on itself. Yeah, 45 minutes, and then we'll give it another fold, and we'll do that 3 times, and then we're ready to roll tomorrow. Here we have a bread dough that was made yesterday, which means it's ready to be rolled this morning. We're going to portion it into 120 gram dough balls, and then they'll sit in the fridge for another day, and then they'll be ready to use tomorrow. So when you're working with dough that's out like this, it's important to work fast, because as it sits at room temperature, the outside layer is going to dry out, and then that's what's going to form a skin, which is going to affect when it rises in the oven. It's not going to get a lovely leoparding around the outside, so you have to work fast. And as soon as you finish the dough ball, it goes into a tray, and then once you've done a tray, we'll put a lid on, and that can just go to the side. So the fastest way that I found to do this is we're going to cut it into nice long strips, and then we're going to cut across all into dough balls. We're going to weigh them all, and then we're going to roll them all in that order. If you were to weigh them out a bit bigger, maybe 150, 160 grams, they'd make a really nice pizza dough. If we ever have any leftover trays that have gone a bit flat, if they stay in the fridge for a few too many days, we'll make a really nice star focaccia from them. Let all the dough balls sort of grow together, leave it at room temperature, and you press it out into one big flat dough, and it makes a really nice staff breakfast. 120 grams. Now we've got all our dough balls weighed out, it's time to roll them. When we're rolling them, we're trying to seal it underneath the dough ball so that when it proves in the fridge, it doesn't leak out and it grows in a nice uniform shape. I like to stretch out each corner and tuck it into itself, and that's going to form the initial skin on the underside. Then flip it over, and it's already got a little bit of a skin, and now it's just about shaping it into a perfect circle. Rolling my thumb and my pinky finger around the outside of the edge to get a nice tight ball by the end of it. So here we have a tray of flatbreads. We put 8 in a tray, so they've all got space to grow, and then when we come to use them, they're not touching each other. We can take them out nice. They keep their circle shape, and they've got a nice skin on them. They're going to grow nicely. That's a perfect tray of breads. So this is all the breads rolled, ready to go into the fridge. We'll make sure that we label them with a date, so that we know we're using these ones tomorrow, and the ones that are to be used today will be in there already. And that's it. Delish. Right, so here we have our gosni, which is what we cook all of our flatbreads in, amongst other things. And about 10 o'clock in the morning is when we need to light it up for dinner, lunch service. So if you have a look inside, at the moment we've got 3 of the compressed wood logs, and that will get up to about 400 degrees when it's ready to go. And that's how you get the perfect leoparding, you get the nice flame over the top to get that perfect flatbread. So now all the breads are rolled, we're going to cook the mussels. So ready to make our mussel flatbread. So in our meal part for our mussels, we've got fennel, onion, celery, parsley stalks, some thyme, and some garlic. We're going to cook that down because that's going to form the base of our mussel liquor. So when all the juices come out of the mussels, this sweetness from all this veg is going to go into it, which we eventually use in our mussel butter. We're going to all of our vegetables, all of our herbs. In with the mussels. White wine. And then we're going to cover that with a lid. Help all that steam is going to help cook the mussels. So now we've drained our mussels. We've got these beautifully cooked mussels. They're still very plump, they're not overcooked at all. We've put them on a perforated gastro so that all of the hot liquid has gone underneath, so they're not sat in that hot liquid overcooking. The veg has now done its job. All of its sweetness has gone into this liquor at the bottom, which is going to reduce down to make a lovely mussel butter. So we've put a lot of effort into cooking our mussels, so now the last step is to pick them. But when we're doing that, we don't want to be ripping them open or damaging the mussels at all. We want to be nice and gentle. So as you open the mussel, there'll be a little mussel that's attached to the bottom that you just need to slide it off. One bowl for the shells, one bowl for the mussels, and then you just work your way through these. So underneath the mussel, we've got the mussel liquor. So this is really salty, it's got all the flavour from the veg in there. We just need to pass it off in case there's any like shrapnel, bits of shell, or thyme, or any of the veg that we don't want in there. So straight through a chinois. So that's going to help season our butter, and it's also going to give that lovely mussel flavour throughout the flatbread. So our oven's at about 350 degrees now, just coming up to temperature. So we've got a tray of breads that were rolled yesterday. They're nicely proved. I'm just going to make a mussel flatbread. Start by flouring the top. But when making the flatbreads, we want to make sure that the toppings go on the top side of the flatbread. So at the moment I flipped it, so I need to remember which side is up. Okay, we're going to start upside down and we're going to start making the ring. So this is going to form that nice puffy crust around the outside. Flip it over, so now this is the side that I want to put the toppings on. Same thing, building that nice rim, keeping that circle shape. Now I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to let gravity do the work. Because our dough is nice and strong, we can really quite stretch it and it's not going to tear. Just making small movements, turning it around in my hands until it forms a nice circle. Clear the flour away from the bottom because that's just going to burn on the bottom of the oven. We're left with a perfect circle. On that we've got our lovely mussel butter. So it's that reduced mussel liquor from earlier. It's got chopped mussels in there, burnt chili, lots of lemon. And on top of that, loads of our lovely mussels. A little bit of olive oil. Straight into the oven. Just going to add a touch of olive oil to the outside. We get some lemon zest. And then finish it with some chives. The mussel flatbread started 3 days ago when we first made the bread. Then we rolled them into the dough balls and then we can make a lovely mussel flatbreads. Hundreds of them a day. All that lovely butter, lovely mussels, beautiful sourdough. Gets better every time.
Anyone else?
Yeah, it gets quite like that.
Yeah.
Can I pull it out, please?
I've got one.